Thank you for joining today's session, which is focused on navigating tourism and event marketing in 2024. I'm Emma Rowley, the Tourism Development Manager with Ontario Southwest Regional Tourism Organization. Before we start, it is important to begin our training by acknowledging the traditional territories that we are all connecting from as we gather virtually across the region together. The relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples in Canada today is at a critical point in history. There's a hope that we are moving towards an era of more understanding, appreciation, and responsibility. This event is taking place on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Huron-Wendat, Attawandaron, Lenape, Ojibwe Chippewa, and Wendat Indigenous peoples. This territory is also covered by the Upper Canada Treaties. We recognize and deeply appreciate the First Nations' historical connection to and stewardship of this land and acknowledge that they have been the original caretakers since time immemorial. We also recognize the contributions of the Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous peoples who have had both in shaping and strengthening this community in particular in our province and country as a whole. And we as Ontario Southwest really encourage everybody to take time to educate themselves so that we can work together and becoming really good neighbors. So with that, I'm pleased to turn it over to Dave McNeil, who is the CEO of Festival and Events Ontario, so we can get started.
Hi, thanks, Emma. I'm Dave McNeil, like Emma said. Just a little bit about Festival and Events Ontario. We operate under four main pillars, one being education, which is kind of what we're doing today with everybody here, and we're happy to do that. We also run conferences, webinars, Tuesday talks, and different interactive sessions with our members and non-members alike through FEEL. We also run a conference every year. This year it's in Kitchener from February 24th to 26th. If you're interested, we're starting to build our speaker sessions, and everything is online and can be accessed through our website at PO Festivals and Events Ontario.com. The other pillars we operate under are advocacy, obviously with all levels of government, federal, provincial, municipal, regional, working on advocating, what festivals and events do to community, building community, making communities great places to live. So that's one of our major things. Another one is marketing, which Jeff's going to talk about today. Another big part of our umbrella is our website and how we market throughout the province through all of our events, whether they're large, medium, or small. Another big part of what we do, and networking, is bringing people together and able to share stories, share resources. We have back ends in our on our website where people can talk through forums, share ideas, share problems and issues and solutions. So it's a really interactive networking opportunity. So that's a little bit about us. Right now, I'm happy to introduce Jeff Hardy, who is from the heart of wine country in Niagara Falls, Ontario. Jeff has a client-driven, holistic marketing focus. He's a passionate leader, embracing digital strategy, design, and data, drawing from years of agency experience, leading a talented creative team. Jeff believes that building relationships, listening, and communicating with clarity are the keys to success. May I please introduce Jeff Hardy?
Thanks, Dave. That was almost like I wrote that myself. Interesting. I appreciate it. And thanks, Emma and Dave and Debbie, who's not here, for having me present today. And hi to everybody. I thought we might be able to have some interactivity, but I see there's the list in the chat. So welcome to you. And hopefully you'll get some good information out of this. My job is to help people basically. Hi, Debbie. How are you?
Recording in progress.
Welcome, Debbie, man, from FEO. Yeah, my job is to basically help organizations, businesses, festivals, artists, corporations get leads. And and we do that through marketing tools and sales funnels, marketing funnels that are basically driven. Obviously you have to have strategy, but you also need to have the right tools in place. And we live in a fantastic time where there's almost a tool for everything that you need to that you need to do. So I'm just going to start my presentation here. In the meantime, my background is basically marketing design, brand development. I've been in business for 30 years, worked with a ton of different clients from corporate to arts and culture to tourism to entertainment. So I've just kind of taken everything that I know and basically I'm going to try to give you a top high level workshop here about the best way to go about this. So can everybody see that? I don't see my screen. So are you guys can see it?
I
See
can't
it
see
right
it.
now.
Oh, hold up. How about now?
We are seeing your notes again.
Oh, it did it again, eh? Strange. Bear with me. How about now?
There we go.
Okay. So navigating tourism and event marketing, and we're going to talk about utilizing digital tools, platforms, automation, and sales funnels. So I want this to be practical for you so that you can take away information that you can have some actionable items. If you have questions, feel free to reach out later if you need to. I'll send the deck on for distribution to Dave and Emma as well. So again, practical information that I hope you're going to be able to use for marketing of festivals, events, venues, performance art shows. It applies across the board, really. So the idea of creating a custom marketing tech stack. I'm not sure if everybody knows what a stack is, but it's kind of a development term for being able to put together different pieces of software that help to provide a solution for your challenges, for getting leads, for getting new businesses, for getting content out. So integrations that allow you to streamline and organize and automate your business to increase growth of patrons, fans, revenues. So we're going to go through a lot of those tools. And then, it's important to identify your marketing needs using a custom holistic marketing approach. And by assessing the available tools, you can create and implement that stack solution. So each tool, it's really difficult to find one tool that does it all. Although some developers and organization businesses will say, yeah, this software does it all. Very difficult because there's so many different situations. But there are specific tools, and each tool has a purpose. And you might be able to find, well, hopefully we'll help you find those tools and put them into a stack that they're integrated and they all communicate to each other, and that you can get the data you need to find out the best channels for marketing and to manage those channels. So the most important thing that I think before even getting into those stacks is that I don't think you should expect any success in marketing without first having your authentic brand, your core values and processes in place as your foundation. So in short, you can't have a poorly presented brand and expect positive marketing results. A lot of businesses they kind of forget about that foundational part. And they're wondering why, hey, I'm not getting as much business as I should. I'm not selling enough tickets. I'm not getting enough of, the word out, or I'm not getting people knocking at my door, leads. And you have to ask some of those foundational questions, and it's important to work with the right people to get that foundational those foundational elements in place. So, 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 my approach is very holistic. So in the old days, that was called integrated marketing, and so that was where you took different pieces of the marketing puzzle and put them together, and that's like basically my holistic approach. So this graph, like this circle graph, basically the circles are kind of weighted as to like importance, I guess, or priority. So, the center is your brand. And then surrounding that are all the different elements of marketing, like the social media element, public relations, which may or may not be part of your strategy. But there's digital marketing, which everybody, it's interesting that people in marketing say, I'm a digital marketer. But at the end of the day, digital marketing is just one part of the whole of marketing. So there's also traditional marketing, when you get into print and those are not dead. Those are still very relevant, especially to smaller towns, like where there might be a weekly newspaper, and depending on the demographic and in the age, there are different ways of communicating through different channels. And then, you can see down to the left, we've got like tech and data, and that's analytics, where it's like you want to find out as much information as you can to be able to know and profile your target audience. And so AI is like a big part of that as well. Everybody's implementing like Chat GPT, which is a fantastic resource. And almost every piece of software that I use has integrated AI in some respect. So it's a great thing to be able to augment what you do, because it sometimes validates what you know, but also can help to automate and do things a lot quicker, and provide like ideas and supplement information for you to get, complete what you need to get done. Of course, there's website design, there's digital content and imaging, but all of these play a part in your marketing plan and your brand. So it all goes back to your brand. So I'm just going to go on here where, knowing your brand and audience. A lot of times I'll be in a consulting session, and, somebody will want to go ahead and do like a marketing campaign, say it's a Google campaign. But we end up asking some questions, and it makes people think. And then this is again where people kind of there are organizations where people replace other people over time, and then they kind of forget a lot of the main directive of what the business is about, believe it or not. And so, some things to ask yourself, as simple as they are, it's a good revisit. What is your business and primary objective? Like, what really is your primary objective? And again, is it to sell your widget, or is it to help people solve a problem? So depending on how you look at that, that's going to address how you move forward in your marketing. Is the foundation of your brand in place? Brand personality, unique core differentiator, your core values, which is so important. It drives everything you do, every decision you make. And your mission and vision, they're kind of old terms, but they're always relevant. And your pitch, hey, what do you do in your business? And you might have your brand message, or the way you communicate what your company does or what you do in your company. So, if I was to ask, what do you do, or what does your company do? And you give me like a 1 or 2 sentence answer. But then if someone says, well, tell me more about it, you're ready with your brand language to communicate in say a paragraph, verbally, with more detail about what your company does and what you do in your position. Is your product and service clearly defined? Can you identify your primary demographic? That's a crazy question, and it's so simple, and it's easy to get that data, but anybody in business should know the answer to that. And if you don't, I would, strongly recommend that's where you get your data and start to really find out. You might think you know who your audience is, but then that's where you have to create profiles and segments to understand, their thinking, psychographics. And then once you know your audience, what channels do you use to create connections with your people, with your fans and your patrons? And then the biggest thing is, are you authentic in your business? And I added that because after some discussion, I always go back to it. It's part of my core values personally, authenticity. And I think that's a real driver as to success in your brand and your business, which results in amazing marketing and being able to uh, walk the talk. So again, some other questions that you want to ask yourself: what is your annual budget, including creative, and creative as a noun, as like your creative content, your assets, your brand, your logo, your ad templates, production. Who does your production, execution, and delivery? How do you get your message out? How do you get your content out? What tools do you use and platforms to run your business? Do you utilize AO in your workflow? Do you have in-house resources or subcontract? And then, when it gets into the other sort of heavy lifting marketing, do you run programmatic campaigns? Do you know your average cost per click, your key performance indicators, which, for example, like your cost per lead, or your sales by region? So you need a quantifiable measurement of your marketing performance over time so you can make decisions later. And that's where a lot of people sort of, especially for smaller businesses, they're doing so many things, you're wearing so many hats, and you need to understand those KPIs and that data to make budget decisions and to make decisions on where and how you're going to market. Bigger organizations, whoever's in place should have this information, and obviously they're answering to a superior, but that's where there should be a plan in place for any organization, whether they're a small business or a large business, of any type. So as far as strategizing and goal setting, it's so important to create a real and practical marketing plan with a social media component, because it's such a huge part of everything that we do in business. And the marketing plan should have task-based actionable items that you can actually implement. And this is an organic document. It's something that you can revisit as often as you want. I don't think it should ever be written in stone. It's organic, so you should revisit it and discuss and update it every 3 to 6 months, I would say. And then defining and assigning roles. Who in your organization is doing what. If there are too many hats being worn by a small amount of people, it's definitely worth subcontracting out to professionals who can be at arm's length, part of your team after you build and develop some trust with that supplier. So then jumping into kind of managing project management. So I'm going in a linear order. It's kind of the elements that we need to go through to get your marketing up and running optimally. And each of those stages, I will talk about tools and solutions and platforms so that are relevant. That I've tried so many, and I've worked on so many projects for clients using different tools where I was forced, like not forced, but I have to fit into their workflow. So I'm fortunate to have had a lot of experience working with a lot of different tools. So project management tools, I think such an important thing. I've been looking for the holy grail of project management tools for probably since like the mid 90s. I've tried so many, and a lot of them have failed, or it just with the advent of new technologies, new tools come up. Currently, for the past 3 years, I've used a tool called ClickUp. Fantastic tool, works the way my brain works, the way for my learning style. I've also used Monday.com, which is a pretty customizable user interface, but you can use these as one person in business, or you can use it with multiple, teams in an organization. Or if you're remote, it's collaborative. So it's only like $5 a month to start, but has great features. The next thing is like a CRM, a contact relationship management tool that you can manage your leads or your fan management, or basically is knowing your warm leads and your cold leads and all the information you need to be able to follow up and create a relationship with that person, so that it's really about that relationship and showing your authentic self as a salesperson, representing your business, and hopefully that your products and services are also, something that people want to be buying or be a part of. And marketing funnel maps is part of that lead management tool. So the three that are kind of on my radar, Klaviyo is a great tool. It gives you built-in ability to create funnels, like automated funnels for email within the software. HubSpot is another great tool, but it's a little overblown. I included it because it's very popular, but it's also very, very expensive. And I don't think it's the best. I just think that it's a ubiquitous element in the marketing industry right now. And Pipedrive, which is a smaller version of HubSpot, it's very similar, but less of a sticker price. And then there's all-in-one platforms that I had mentioned. Audience Republic is one that it kind of manages your ticketing, your marketing, your sales all in one. Anything that offered any organization or software company that offers an all-in-one also always allows for integrations where you need them. So that just gives you a little bit of an overview as far as managing your business, managing your projects, managing your content on social. Event marketing funnel. I think that everybody should probably know about this by now. It's very key to addressing leads and knowing your customer and respectfully getting to build a relationship with them. So this is kind of a generic one. There are others that are out there. You've got your discovery, and that would be online. You would have run a Google search results campaign, for instance, or web ads or social ads on Meta. And then your KPI, your key performance indicator, is that new unique visitors, like how many have you had? How many ad clicks? Or check out your search rankings. And then you move to, that gives you your measurement. And then you get to your interest, and that's where you're measuring page views and time on your website, looking at blog articles or using a landing page as a way to get data for who has clicked to your landing page from your Google ad. And that moves on to, an appraisal. And these are, on the left side, are all actions taken by your user. So they're going to go into this funnel, and the last is a conversion. And so this can be simmered down into three, I believe, but it depends on your audience and how you want to interact with them. So this is connected to your platform for email, because you want to have automated emails going out. And so the way that is developed will help to confirm a relationship with your user to get them to the buying stage, whether that's buying a ticket or buying your product or your service. So now, as far as learning, data is the key to everything that you do in marketing. So specifically for the people here and for FEO, I think this is pretty applicable as far as market research using Data Axle Canada, which used to be Info Canada. It gives you tons of information on municipals, uh, different regions. You can find out a lot of information from there, as well as Environics, which is you can get information about postal code demographics for cities, regions. It can give you a lot of information to arm you with, say, how to do like a direct mail or how to target your audience using meta um, like the meta advertising. So you can like actually use your profiles that you've learned from different sources and you can target much easier knowing you've done your market research and learning and understanding who your target is. So creating a profile and a segment of your audience is super important, and that should be part of your marketing plan as well. Social data and metrics you can get from installing Website Pixel from Meta and Google, which is like pretty run-of-the-mill stuff. You can utilize tagging strategies like Google Tags, but usually these things only take place one time, and then they're in place, and you can get those the information and the data to help you make decisions moving forward as to what channels, how much money and budget you're putting into advertising, and should you do it again. The other data source, ChatGPT, DALL-E, and Midjourney, those are can help you with not only like market research, because you can ask a question to ChatGPT, it'll just scrape the entire web and develop an answer for you that it's quite amazing. Help you with planning, because ChatGPT or some of the different Claude, there are so many out right now, help you with planning or developing content or sales strategy. And sometimes it's very validating to know if you're doing something correctly or if you can improve on that. And the other part is, image generation for like content as part of, your content strategy. So learning and data, super important. Then we're into the next stage of create. So creative as a noun, like your creative assets, your design, your brand design, your ads, your ad templates. You should have, again, this kind of overlaps with your marketing plan, but your brand creative should, even if you've got a brand creative that's been in place for a long time, you can still update or address it so that you have brand guidelines and standards. It doesn't matter if you're 1 or 2 or 3 people in an organization or you're 1,000 people. This maintains your brand standards. It gives everybody consistent perspective and understanding of your brand and how it should be and how it should appear. And anytime you send it out, this tells people this is how our logo is supposed to look. It can never be under this big, or, we always have our tagline positioned under our logo, and that's how it's to appear. So it maintains consistency for your brand. And then, there's design assets. That's ad templates and elements that you use in your advertising. How do you build those? Do you have a designer? Do you do it yourself? Do you have a production process? Those are important elements as well. Some tools that are used, industry standard Adobe Creative Suite, which is a subscription based, and can get pricey depending on what you need. Affinity Design Suite is an alternative. It's like a buy one time, very, very low cost. And it's basically a non-subscription that similar tools to Adobe Creative Suite, very similar. And then, for the people that might have some skills but don't understand how to use the software, Canva is a fantastic tool for that as well. Actually, Canva just bought Affinity Design a couple of months ago, so there's going to be some good chemistry there. And then asset management system for tracking. That's like a tool that you can get. That's a piece of software that it's indexable and searchable for, ads and elements and brand elements, but not a lot of people will have that unless you're like a bigger agency. But you can set up your Google Drive or your Cloud Drive, whatever you may use. I use Google Drive and I use pCloud P-Cloud is phenomenal. Um, and I have like a folder system that I use, a hierarchy that I've been using for years and years that I kind of it took me a few years to develop it. But it's a process that has never failed me. So just being organized in that way can be very helpful and save a lot of time. And then I just put in, if you have to subcontract your creative because it's worth putting value on that. And again, you need your brand in place before you can expect any success in marketing. So now we're into engaging. And so the audience reach tools and management tools. So social media is probably everybody knows it's a great channel for marketing and advertising. It's super cheap compared to a lot of other marketing platforms and different channels. But where's your market? You can use social media, but do you need every one? Do you need LinkedIn, X, TikTok? You don't. What about the ones that are just effective for your brand and your demographic? So, is it Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, TikTok or LinkedIn? Again, you don't need to spread yourself thin by like being everywhere. You can just pick who you like, where you feel, and you'll know this by your data, where your demographic is. So Facebook, we're looking at probably from what I have seen as far as data, it's like 40 to 60 is kind of like your main demographic there. Uh, Younger kids are, they feel it's for old people, which I find hilarious. But TikTok was for the younger generation, but now there are tons of people who are over 50 that are on TikTok. Um, and these platforms drive a lot of business. Some businesses just rely on the social component to do all of their advertising. Um, Moving along, there's like SMS campaign managers. So that's like where you can automatically text people that are signed up for communication from you. Community is one where you get a phone number from them, you buy credits, and you're able to like instantly text anybody that's on your list. Alternative is Superphone, and Laylo is another one, but it's a little more geared towards like entertainment and artist marketing. But they all do the same thing. Email campaign platforms. MailChimp's a really big one. I'm not a huge fan. I've used it a lot of times. I think there are better. Pipedrive, it has a built-in one, but it's also like an actual funnel and leads management tool. So depending on what you need, Pipedrive might be a great thing for you. Brevo and Beehive are both email platforms that have different features that are good for creators and marketers. It might work for a varied number of businesses, but some of these are worth checking out. There are so many tools. And then there's an influencer marketing network. So in Canada, oh well, I mean those are in Canada and US, I believe. Upfluence and Embold. That's where you can just hire a marketer to, if it's your thing, if you think that would be a helpful solution for helping to get the word out for, marketing your business or service or product. That's a totally acceptable thing these days. And sometimes influencers have, a million followers where it's a totally legit type of solution. Not for everybody, but for some. Geofencing. The last workshop we had, somebody said it was kind of creepy, but it depends on what you're using it for. So geofencing is if you're able through using the Propulso, which is the biggest one in Canada, you can target a location like a venue so that people in that venue fenced will see your ads. All of those people will see your ads. So, for example, Taylor Swift's playing in Toronto at the Scotiabank Center. You could geofence campaigns so that they would know she's playing in Goderich, say, the next weekend. So it's very powerful. It's a little gray area as far as like it's legal here, but it is a little creepy in some ways, but it's a thing. So I'm just reporting the news for you. Um, Traditional channels, terrestrial radio, print ads, publications, digital billboards, or print billboards. Digital is much more. There's a little more value to that. Uh, but those are all still relevant. Again, especially if you live in a smaller town where you might be able to use those channels depending on your demographic. So if it's like a big retirement town that you live in, some of those might be more effective than say um, social media channels. So it's just you don't want to throw that idea out of using traditional marketing because it's still very relevant today. Um, Fan-based platforms where the idea of belonging to a group and you have a product or a service or a business that really relies on interactivity and working and interacting with your fans, your patrons, your people. Facebook groups is a fantastic way to start. It gives people a voice. It gives them an opportunity to talk to you, to talk to each other, and it creates a real sense of community, which is super cool. Especially if there's the idea of kind of it's not elite, but like a group that's closed. There is a little bit of FOMO there. So people that have a little bit of interest would be apt to joining that club. Mighty Networks is another platform that has amazing tools and it's pretty good value. But it allows you to do like Zoom inside it. People sign up. It's similar to like a bit of Facebook group, but it's specifically tailored for your business. You can give lessons. You can give content like people subscribe to your content there so you can have different rooms and spaces where there are different categories or different topics that you can provide online lessons or workshops. So something to check out if that might be something that you're interested in. Then back to programmatic DSP ad platforms. And that's where programmatic, like so demand side platforms are ad serving platforms that are like Google Ads, but not Google Ads. They basically are the similar type of approach to how to serve ads, but they have a network of legitimate websites and companies that will allow for advertising on their sites. So StackAdapt is one that I have quite some experience with. It's great. The support is fantastic. Again, it's very targeted. You can target with StackAdapt and most of the programmatic platforms. Fluency is another one that's newer, but it operates in a very similar way. Digital audio streaming networks like Spotify ads or Audio Go. So Spotify specific, but there are, I don't know how many tens of millions or hundreds of millions of users there are, but premium users don't hear advertising, but free users do hear advertising. So that's an opportunity to hit a lot of targeted locations and demographics and specific users based on your profile using audio ads. Audio Go basically disperses to multiple channels, multiple outlets, not just one. So Audio Go is kind of like a DSP, but for audio. And then connect the television, something that's overlooked. Any of your apps that you watch that are streamed, MNTN is one of the sort of pioneers in connected television advertising. So you can have your ad appear just like the old days when you're watching a show, and if it has ads, you can have your ads served up there. And it's actually quite reasonably priced considering how many people you'll be hitting. So we're more than halfway there. I don't know if anybody has any questions right now. It's hard to see. I don't really see any.
Jeff,
The
there's
chat.
one question and it
Yes.
came in. Is there a sustainability piece to the holistic system presented?
Can you say it again?
Is there a sustainability piece to the holistic system presented?
Sustainability in regard to what?
To the holistic system presented? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm having a hard time referencing it. Maybe whoever sent that could send up a
yeah,
little bit more clarification.
yeah. Sustainability could apply to a lot of different things. Mostly, it makes me think of environment. So I'm not sure
I
what.
think it probably refers to, so like the triple bottom line. So we're talking about the environmental impact as well as the economic impact and the social impact. So how are we influencing maybe communities when we're hosting events, the environmental impact we're having when we're aware of like the communications we're putting out there to different event participants, like that kind of context.
Yeah, so it might also be around is sustainability a part of your marketing program and
Me
be
personally,
or is that an idea that should be used or
well, sustainability is not an element of marketing. It's
oh, Emma was correct in what she mentioned in the triple bottom line. The person just mentioned.
oh, so can you tell me again in context?
Over to you, Emma.
So when we're talking about sustainability, so the triple bottom line, we're talking about every single action we have, including marketing, has an environmental, a social, and an economic impact. So for example, the wording that we're using in our marketing campaigns in could result in more sustainable action. So making sure that we're representing the event properly, we're kind of stepping away from maybe that commercialization aspect and more focused on really making sure we're being impactful and very aware of the messaging that we're putting out there. That kind of is related to the marketing context, but also making sure that that translates into environmental and economic benefits as well. That's
That would
probably what I'm trying to.
if that's what it is in context, I would say definitely important. But that speaks to your brand messaging. And of course, it's important to all of us, but to some people, it might not be as important. Although I think it's an important thing to include in any of your marketing planning or building your brand messaging and your brand personality. So, yes, I think it's important, but I don't know if I would include it as an element. I mean, it might fall under as a subcategory under, PR. But I think it still speaks to like your brand personality, which is more how you're going to present your brand, what the language is that you're going to use when you market, and what your marketing message speaks to. So that's a great reminder to use it. Although I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it would be like a subcategory of a few of the different circles that I used on my graph. So I hope that helps to answer your question. It sounds more like a dialogue which we would like to have. Um, so I'm just going to move on here. So analyzing ad platforms and analytics. Again, data is your best friend. It's important to be aware of it and to utilize it in all of your to make decisions in all of your marketing. So ad platforms, Google Ads and Meta Ads, they're integrated with every other tools to be able to allow you to get the data. So there's marketing platform Google 360, which is kind of a stack adapt. It has a lot more features and benefits, but it's more for like an agency type of situation. Um, these are all connected to Google Analytics. If so, you've got your analytics, which give you every bit of information you need to see how your website is performing. Using Search Console and Tag Manager, which are other parts of well, they're kind of parts of analytics. They're separate apps though. Um, Knowing how to use those tools will help you be successful in marketing. And if you don't have the ability to understand it right now, I mean, there you can learn, or you can subcontract out someone who can do those jobs for you, and at the same time, you could probably learn a lot about it. But it's um, a constant effort. It's something that monthly it should be looked at to see how um, what your analytics look like as far as performance for all areas of your marketing. Um, and then, you've got more Meta Business Manager and TikTok Business Manager also are connected there. So that gives you more and overlapping data, but just gives you more of a dashboard that allows you to control more of your um, business profile, although it can get very confusing. So there are specialists in each of these that you could probably call on to help. But I mean, that's a lot of businesses are just driven by this data here and using those tools. Um, the other the next stage is selling. So brand and e-commerce, which fits into your plan, most of you. Ticketing platform. Um, if you're selling tickets for festivals or events or shows, there's been a big backlash because there's such a huge markup on ticket fees and service fees that it's almost out of control. That the Department of Justice is looking into Live Nation because of the way they manage their ticket sales and their venues. But so in our case, um, there's Eventbrite, which is, something that you can use. I'm not sure if this is applicable to everybody here. Press Play Tickets, that's a platform, that's a shameless plug, a platform that I built that I use. But ticketing can be integrated into all of your data so that you can find out more about your users. And, the ticketing is the actual conversion. The funnel comes before. And if the ticket is a sale, that's your conversion. So measuring all the way up to that and measuring those conversions is very important for anybody that's working on in an event-based organization. And then the merch component or store components, like using a content management system or an e-commerce platform like Shopify or Squarespace. I'm a Shopify partner, Squarespace partner. They're both I think those are probably the two of the better solutions that are available. And maybe it's because I've been using them for so long, but I've tried a lot of the other ones out too. Shopify, great for commerce, not so great for the website marketing pages that sit above the store. It's okay. It's a little clunky. Squarespace, beautiful for building a site, easy, does everything. But the commerce is pretty good, but it's a little bit clunky. So you kind of have to pick your best solution there. Everything can be integrated and extended as far as features and automation with platforms like Zapier or Make or IFTT. And those are almost like middleware triggers that allow automation by connecting two platforms together. Or, if you want to send an email and you don't want to have like a big platform that you're working on to create a funnel, you can have Zapier automatically trigger an email from Gmail. So it's shortcuts to do things. And then we're at the end of the whole stages and steps, revisit. Basically you want to look at how it performed, look at that data, reset it so that you're starting again and repeat that. Now, if you need to, if it works, that's great. And then optimize it so that it works better. And where your dollars are going, make sure you know where your budget's being spent. If it's not working, figure out why, document it so that you don't forget, or the next person coming in will know and move to the next campaign type. Eventually, you'll find, um, your best options for marketing, and whether that's using tools or using channels, whether it's programmatic or Meta or Spotify. So you have to find out what your perfect circle is as far as um, how you're going to market. So I hope that helped and gave you some information that you can take away and think about. Again, we'll send the deck so that you have that to reference. And if there are any questions, I am happy to answer.
And Jeff, we're just going back to put a wrap up on the sustainability thing. The person who asked the questions gave and I'm assuming it's a program that you might want to have a look at. It's called VAIL, VAIL, and that might give you some more insights into
Yeah,
that.
I'll take a look for sure.
I'll jump in and start out with a few. With social media and everybody having access to it, and these days everybody thinks they're a marketer and has strong ideas and opinions, whether it's color or music styles. How do you corral that energy and keep your brand front and center?
I think that if you are, sorry, do you mean as a business owner?
Yeah, or as a festival or event. I mean, largely volunteer based. Everybody's got an opinion, an idea. Several times you might have
Yeah,
different committees that are running different events. And to your point, all their marketing things look different. There was no brand strategy. How do you bring it all together and
that's a really good question, and it sounds like you've been through these things before, Dave.
yeah,
So,
anytime?
but I think you have to really look at your core values and being authentic in what you're delivering. And so if it's very difficult, as you know, to navigate committees and even volunteers because there are so many different types of personalities. And you get there are people who feel that they know the best way forward, and there are people who it's personalities are difficult to navigate sometimes, and especially when everybody really is trying to do their best, like they really want the best for it. But I think that as far as when it comes to like, brand and marketing, I think that it's worth hiring someone to come in to get to lay the groundwork and ask those questions that may never have been asked, and to have like a plan moving forward. And whether that's like a new startup festival or that type of like organization, or one that's been in um, existence for a long time, I think making sure everyone's on the same page, uh, m- moving ahead is so key to that. And just because people aren't being paid, they're still involved for a reason, because they somehow have an emotional stake in what's happening, um, or they want to be part of something that's great. So I really think that running that as if it's a business, and almost speaking to all of those people like they're stakeholders, even if they're not being paid, I think it's almost like treating them as like part of the team, and being able to educate everybody. I know sometimes it's tough because like I worked for a festival that had 600 volunteers. And so, but it's like kind of the people who are organizing the volunteers who are the ones that need to hear the words. And so speaking the same brand language is so important, and like being able to identify your goals. And it doesn't have to be a complicated thing. I think if anything, it should be just simple as possible. And the biggest thing is that the leaders should be leading with kindness and understanding, because that's important for all of us to be able to get where we want to be. So it's like, again, that's tough because personalities can and sometimes clash. It can be a challenge. But sticking to your brand personality, making sure you have it documented, and it's like sometimes it sounds easy, but I know it's a challenge for sure. But I think communicating is really important, and having that open communication can make it a successful thing. I don't know if
Yeah,
like,
and I think your point of the brand strategy and almost having a brand Bible that
yeah,
I think that's so important and key. And to Emma's point, if you have a good brand Bible and a good brand strategy, whenever you're doing something, and if triple bottom line is important to your organization, everything you do should be looked at through that lens of triple bottom
yes,
line. And is it hitting that? And Jeff, you made the other point. Whatever your brand is, it should be noticeable to everybody throughout. So the other thing I always found important was having one person in charge. Because if different people are responsible all throughout no one person is responsible, so nobody's responsible.
yeah, there's
So
got to be a
it
leader
really
for
the
sure.
strategy has to funnel through that person.
Yeah, like that trickle down effect. Uh,
Yeah.
it can be very
It's a
infectious.
tough role. It's a tough role.
It really is. It really is. But I mean, hopefully that leader has the ability to gain trust by delivering what they say they're going to, and being able to manage and communicate properly. I know there's so many different organizations, small or large, but definitely the leader uh, is a key role for sure.
Okay, we've got a question for businesses out there who provide experiential tourism slash classes, etc. Any suggestions for a CRM that works for them?
Uh, that sounds like more, well, a CRM to get students, or I guess that would be like, that sounds like a learning system to me. That sounds like um, a CRM is more for leads to get business. Um,
I think Emma might want to jump in.
sure.
Uh, just so classes, like think like workshops. So if they're bringing in a group of visitors to do like some sort of interactive component, that's what they're referring to.
Yeah.
Some sort of CRM system then to be tracking their customers.
So yeah, an end person, like sales is the key there. I think Pipedrive's a great tool as far as CRM. Um, it has a lot of different components, but works well. I've used it in context for a school before, like a voiceover school, and it worked really well for that. It has a lot of features that allow you to do what you need to do in that type of situation. Um, but again, there are so many out there that you'd have to kind of look at what the features are, and usually they'll give you, we'll give you a 14-day or 30-day trial, but like, is that enough for you when you're to be able to try it out in practice, like when it's actually, to work? So I would say that's probably the best thing, is to look at what the features are. But Pipedrive's been a really good tool for me. I've used it in a few different situations. Hopefully that helps.
Uh, well, one more question, Jeff. Um, what about strategies for social media and keeping engaged? And I'm thinking of festivals and events that will turn their platforms on maybe a month before the event
Yeah.
and then shut it off a week after the event and just keep going in that cycle instead of engaging with their audience throughout the year, which isn't really hard to do, should be pre-set up and stuff. Can you speak to that?
That is so fickle to me. Like I think that, I mean, there could be issues that like we don't know about, like maybe they're funded and they don't have enough resources to be able to do that. But it's so worth it if you want to have a successful festival or event, to maintain your relationship and connections with all those people. Like, you're working hard for those 2 months to try to get all these people to follow you and then you just drop them. Like, yeah, you're right. Like you should be constantly dripping out content. Like it's only a year away. 12 months is nothing. And to manage those relationships by providing really engaging content, it doesn't take a lot. I think, I mean, don't drop it all together. At least post a couple times a week, like in anticipation, get people's feedback. Post things that like a survey or a poll or interesting things that surround, the topic of the festival, whether it's music or what.
Congratulate suppliers,
Yeah.
congratulate
Oh,
volunteers on
thank the
achievements.
volunteer. Do profiles on people. Go around, like, even if it doesn't have to be pro level video, but do it on your phone. Like, whatever it takes it doesn't have to be a chore. You can make it fun too. If you involve people, a lot of people like that. And especially if you have a festival that has all those people that are part of the team, get them to contribute content. I'm sure people would be happy to do that. So, yeah, I think it's important to maintain consistent messaging, especially on social, but even more so, it sounds like an old thing, but email communication, like email platform, is super key. And you have all of those people's email addresses. It's like really uh, an honor to have that information from people because you can talk to them whenever you want to. You can prepare your message and like present it in a beautiful way where you can think out what you need to say and compress it down into the shortest possible way with all these links that lead off to things that they might find interesting. I think there's still a lot of power in that because especially from my experience as a user, where I get email newsletters that I'm like, I really appreciate that. Like I love um, that I can decide when I want to read it. But I see that they're trying to reach out to maintain that, whether it's like a cold lead relationship where I've bought the product already. I kind of appreciate that. Social, I feel sometimes can be overwhelming, but I do think that it's important. Those two things are so key in the digital age.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff. I have to be careful here and watching time,
Yeah,
being
thank
cognizant
you.
of it, because as a marketer, I could go on forever, and I'm
I
sure you could
know.
as
Should
well.
ask you some questions, Dave.
So we'll pull back the talk there, and thank you very much. A lot of great
My pleasure.
information. Like Jeff said, the slides, the deck will be available through us or through Emma. Happy to help out. Thanks again, Jeff. Great talk.
Thanks very
Uh,
much for
just
having me.
just a reminder, our final episode in our series with Southwest is coming up on February 5th. We'll be featuring Dolores McAdam from the city of Ottawa, who's going to be talking about an interactive training session designed to empower festival organizers with the knowledge and tools they need to attract, recruit, and retain enthusiastic volunteers. Volunteers are the backbone of any successful festival, and understanding how to engage them effectively is critical, creating memorable events. So that's February 5th, Dolores McAdam on volunteers. Emma, back over to you, and thank you very much for this opportunity. We really enjoyed working with you and your members and presenting these topics. It's been a lot of fun and a lot of great information.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. And thanks to the entire FEO team and, of course, Jeff for presenting today. Just as a final note, thank you to everybody who joined today's session. I'll send a follow-up email with the recording as well as some resources that you can use. And always feel free to email me if you have any questions. But enjoy the rest of your day, and I'm sure we'll be in connection soon.